why you don't wait for graduation of announcement of
Vera l'università noi per forza e non ci sia nessun motivo.
Make empty.
We feel like we are a community in the Biennale
La
of
Biennale è di tutti.
This whole process started, and I think it's still very crucial, and I'm so happy to hear that this it's linked with Ask. Then one more thing, assembly. We are agency of better living, and we decided to make an assembly. I would add triple A, which I am always very concerned, which is archive. So this is also very important. Keep memory of all this, because this could be taken away and fadden away and made disappear in a second. So I think it's important. We also, I'm usually very bad in that, but I think it's very important. We also built an archive of the social struggle, and it's important. So,
I also want to say something. We
please.
would like to invite the visitors also.
Yes, the visitors are part of the assembly, of course. Please come in, step in, have a seat.
For the living, please come here, tell or write something on this beautiful picture.
Please, please.
Come.
So now we have no order to start. We can sit in misunderstanding. I think the common goods issue came out with Poveglia, the whole work of the circularity and the potentials of this incredible city, and the ways has been started this work from the realities that are here. So let me not give the word. Please take it and come up with something that it's hurting you. I loved Paolo today with he was hurted in his way of coming here and in his way of struggling for redefining strategy of tactics and strategies of living. We can take a second. We love misunderstanding and silence and
Will be silent film.
that's it.
I just love where from whom we have to start discussion, but there's not an order like that, like before.
No,
Not at all.
but you, of course, you're also tomorrow. We're going with you. So if you start, would be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. I was acting like someone else to start, like Marco, but luckily even Eleonora joined us. It was a part of us, a young part of us, so we can consider the two. The two middle age of Ask, so the first one and the second one, the second life of
generation.
ASC. So she will describe a thought that she had in the last days, just to make some different speech, but saying the same languages. Well, as I said in the first introducing of ourselves, what we think about the better living is something that we do every day of our life since the beginning when we go in the house. So try to create a big relationship with the neighborhood. For example, I had the memory that it was something very brand new, but that still we still do every day. And it started with the pandemic. With the pandemia, we help with our skills and also with what we learned from our works to help all the people that has needed to make shopping or go outside and having trouble to move alone. So we create a sort of, come si può dire, portierato di quartiere. Just I find some words that is not
doorkeeping.
yeah, kind of, yeah. So yeah, in exactly what you mean, but I say to give a lot of services to these people. No, so for example, when the heating system was interrupted by some damage, we were there to help the people to stay. To fix it and to test trouble, and couldn't call any technic person who can help because we were in a pandemic situation that the world knows.
May I ask you something? How big is the neighborhood that you're talking about? Is it two houses?
No. For the Casette, the quarter that I talk about, and you will see tomorrow. It's about houses.
120.
100,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a
So it's like this Viennese neighborhood.
You will see just a full quarter when the relationship is just the symbol of what we want to do to better living. Even if, as I described in the first part of this meeting, we are spread with the squatting all around Venice, so we don't have a big building when we can think about every issue on solving some troubles about, but we try to connect with different neighbors in different quarters. But Casette is just the main quarter, we can call it. And another example that I think about it is that when we live in our quarter, so for example, I don't live in Casette in Giudecca, but I stay in Cannaregio. And I am also a basketball coach, and I'm president of a basketball society that earned by the municipal government places that I will talk about in a part that is called the Carapace. We call it Carapace, that is a shield of the crab. So, because I'm president of a basketball team that is called Crabs. And we earned these places completely in ruins, because we assigned in the early 2019, but they gave us, when past the big high tide, the ones of the 2019, that maybe you know that the 70% of the city, because they arrive at 1 meter and 87, I guess, more or less. So a very, very high tide, and they say, okay, you had this, and if you want, you make self-restoration, but there's some place in another quarter that is a brand new, and we say no. We are practice basketball over there. It's very in the neighborhood of the buildings for sports, but they wanted to give us something different in another place, and we say no. We wanted to make some works inside it, because we have to give this place also to the citizens. So making a self-restoration is not, like I described in the first part of the teaching, of the speaking, only for us, but it became something that you make new for the people. This is the same ways of solving trouble, not us, but what I mean of the government, that said, okay, we are not enough houses in Venice, because they are all damaged. Why don't you go to the mainland? So they say, okay, let's go. Go ahead, go away from the city. So when we go in the quarter, it's not only for make a better living for our house and our family, our sons and daughters, but we make some, we just make a gift to the city. We just want to save the city from the complete abandon, and force the ways of behavior of the government that doesn't want any more citizens in the city. So if some ruins happen, some climate change damage happens, So I don't know, Lorenzo, if you are reading the newspaper, in 3 days, 3 trees fallen down, for example. So everything is not caring about the municipal government. So they say, okay, let the citizens go
You
away,
think so? Really?
let the trees fall down,
Okay.
let the high tide come. So it's just a clinical thought to make empty this city. And we don't want. So our behavior to living better is just staying and exist in our place, but not only stay sterile in in our place, but just to enlarge and take care of our quarter in all that we can do.
I think we should write down that. no?
Yes, I think you said it very clearly when you made a political, urban, and social statement.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think this is something that I would
This
write down.
statement,
No?
yeah.
This concern. I mean, the political statement here, the first political statement in Venice. I don't know if let's discuss it. It's we don't want to go. I mean, the whole history of we just presented in Rome. It's how they send us out, no? And I think this is a crucial political statement. So I don't know if you want to. Then let's discuss it because.
Has to be followed by this statement, give the ball to the citizen. I mean, pass the ball to the citizen. I don't know if it makes sense in English, no? Passare la palla ai cittadini, cioè we don't believe in God, we don't believe in municipality, we don't believe in Comunaro, in local, we want to rebuild our city and our right by ourselves. This is teaching, this is a lesson we have learned, self-construction, self-refurbishment, making assemblies, making communities that we are fully able to repair our life, our lives, our houses.
I mean, if I compare that to Vienna, I mean, you can trust Vienna totally because they give you the apartment, they look at the trees that they don't fall down. It's a totally trustable and fair city, but you never would find this kind of self-repair, caring for the neighborhood, or self-building, self-construction things. So this is over-regulated in that sense. That's the difference, and this is what we want to learn from you here or from Rome.
I just write on the panel.
Abbiamo cercato anche con Ask di entrare in questa cosa con i bandi di autorecupero.
They've been trying to end this public call for self-repairing the houses.
Questa cosa qua è andata esattamente nell'altro verso, ovvero sì, bandi di autorecupero, ma con la ditta che viviamo noi. Quindi creare comunità e lavorare tutti insieme come fa Ask, come fa ReBiennale, come fare cose, e quindi lavorare tutti insieme come fa Officina Marghera, tutti insieme e creare comunità per rimettere a posto un alloggio o altri alloggi o altre cose, però con le competenze.
No, just we have to translate, sorry. Not too long.
Yeah,
we
I
have
can
to
translate. I can translate. So they say this. They were talking about the lack of confidence with institutions. Let's say this is what Giulio bring in, and then Nick is now saying we had to make an example. There was a regulation, a city regulation for self-repairing houses. But then it was done in a way that all the people that did this for a long time and they know they have a knowledge and an expertise on that, they'll not get called because the companies who do the self-repair should be companies chosen by the city itself. So it doesn't help at all because it's opposite to what it meant to be.
E quindi questa cosa, come poteva essere un bando virtuoso per cui si entrava dentro con l'ottica, anche perché l'avevamo un po' portato anche noi, e poi l'hanno fatto fallire miseramente dicendo vedete che così non funziona l'autorecupero perché non si può fare. Ma perché non si può fare? Perché tu mi dicevi che doveva farlo Insula a tot mila euro con i suoi metodi, e noi invece abbiamo sempre detto dobbiamo creare comunità, dobbiamo fare la roba per abbassare le cose perché
It was completely turned around because then it's been used to say, you see, this self-construction doesn't work because we don't make it through. We don't find an agreement, we don't find a strategy. So they made the law not to make it work by not giving it, as Julia was saying, in the hands of these experts that develop themselves a professionality and an economy also by doing
Ma
that.
io avrei una domanda. Ma when you occupy an house, an apartment, where do you sign your residence? How it works bureaucratically? Because like I always ask, because there was a moment last year when I was searching for my house and I was totally desperate and I was walking around in Giudecca because I want to move to Giudecca and I saw all this closed house and I said, like I had the temptation or like crushing something and enter because I was without house and I say, I don't know, but I am really curious about and how it works properly in the streets.
Well, the problem of resident, just keep on following the problem of resident of the normal houses in Venice. So you are seen as a danger because just the name resident means that you want to stay a lot of time, want to stay in a house. But the city and the government doesn't want any more residents, but they want quickly people that quickly leaves the apartment and turn streets.
Yeah, like
into
for
another
example,
one.
is a problem
In-
even for students because I live here like
Sure.
for 7 years and I tried multiple times to ask for residence for the tax at university, but I'm paying the double because I don't have the residence here because anyone wanna give me the residence because I'm a student and they prefer to have like the short-term contract.
That's the way. That's the way we call the ghost resident. Because the complaining of the city is that we are less. We are losing people. We are less than.
This is how the story is told.
No, of course,
Vienna,
yeah.
so-
Of course, it's the reality. But we have a lot of people that works, that move economy, that lives, that eat, that spend in this city, but they are formally resident, but they are not recognized.
To this day, Vienna continues to buy.
It's a degree created between a left man and a right man. So it's a degree, a law created by
A proposal of law by the government.
Yeah, by the government, created by a left man, Renzi, from the left part of the parliament.
Even politically.
Yeah, of course. And the right man, that was Lupi. So you can think about in which direction you're the struggle of the.
Grosse coalizione.
Yeah. Yeah. Larga intese. And they say, okay, if you don't, they had no enough policemen to stop the squatting of the houses and make an eviction to the people. So they think before they say, I don't give you any permission to turn on the lightly system, to turn on the heating system, and to turn on the hydraulic system. And neither I don't give any resident inside your house if you don't demonstrate that you have a relationship with this house. So if you have a rent document, if you have an assignation. So if you don't, if you are a squatter and you can demonstrate that you are, even if you stay here with your family, you pay everything, all the tax for heating, hydraulic, you cannot be classified like a resident. So this law, extended in all Italy, just wanted to prevent the occupation of the houses, because they thought, okay, if I don't give any permission to turn on the heating, hydraulic, electric system, and I don't give any resident the resident classification, if we're not regular, maybe these people go ahead, make an eviction to themselves without the force of police. So they try with this proposal of law to stop the occupation of the houses, but we don't stop ourselves, and we keep on going on fight against this law. But formally, we are ghost residents.
Ghost residents.
Yeah.
Ghost residents. Yes, this is the question of residency. It's also crucial in Rome. It's always been crucial. It's always a way to keep away migrants in one hand, and the question at the very core of the politics, it's we don't go away. I think this is crucial, and I think we can all. I don't know if we want to go over this to say it better, but I think this is the question for citizens. They are kicking us out of the city everywhere in the world, no? And then this is the political. I think. But then you also come up with the question of the social, which I thought was very interesting, because as you said here, I think also, I mean, let's imagine Venice, not this better living you all represent, how it could work. It was very impressive today to hear that houses get refurnished by a process of circular economy that reuse materials from Biennale. So this very simple process could instruct a whole conception, a whole different conception of the city, no? And so, please, let's go over the social issue. So you come up with the three. I think it's good that we try to find but it's good to link, and maybe what we can come out is how it would be possible to live better in Venice, no, in the end. And then I would like to Poveglia step in the end. And the inland, the relationship with the inland. I mean, this question of isolation, it's always been there. No, Venice, it's a multiple island place where the strategy of multiple islands has been welcoming foreigners and allowing the cities to survive for millenniums. So we have to deal with that.
Yeah, but what I mean social is that we consider that filling in some quarter is not filling in with peoples, only with people, but also with idea of best quarter. Because if you go in a quarter and only live there, but we go out for work and we do anything in the quarter, it's not enough to make a politics of better living. We have to construct some demonstration, some place to some meeting points where the people are invited to make, for example, like Festival of Casette.
Yeah.
In few minutes, Eleonora, that is the youngest part of us, will describe what we are, what our idea of social inciting in the quarter, or not only for living. That is the first part that you undescribed. So we don't want to go away, but we don't only want to go away. We want only to construct something in our quarter and scream to the people that we are live and we are inviting them to make something in our quarter.
Listening to Giulio and Nick speaking before, I naturally thought about Biennale of 2 years ago, German Pavilion, that had the name of Open for Maintenance. And basically the German Pavilion 2 years ago was a big storage, an open air big storage with full of students that during the whole period of Biennale were constructing things. Why? Because the German Pavilion that year didn't want to build a big construction in the Biennale here in Giardini, but decided to do small, different works all around the city, trying to listen to what people, to what Venetian needed. So the very good relationship between that pavilion and the territory had the result that the people could be listened in their needs and also could bring their professionalities and also could help in maintaining the quarter or the small park in Santa Marta. Tomorrow morning you will come to Casette and we will show you there are still maintenance in the neighborhood. We still have it. We still have them, and I wanted to bring this example because I think that in this way a big institution like Biennale and a big pavilion, as German pavilion 2 years ago, but also this pavilion, I think that tries to do the same work. Not being a big event, unsustainable, that doesn't bring any result to the city, to the citizen, but it's just a big, circus where people pay a lot of money and there's a lot of money going around, but it doesn't stay anything in the city because, for example, the material of the Biennale, we all know that is going to be thrown away, but fortunately there are people, workers who who take some of the material and try to give material new life. But what if all the pavilion of Biennale, what if they could always do like this? I mean, listening to the people and opening spaces for the people and for the citizens to create something together and make a big event sustainable for the city. So I think that also these community works that posso parlare in italiano?
Vai.
No, grazie. Praticamente la cosa bella è stata che in tutto l'anno ci sono stati lavori. Per esempio alle Casette abbiamo fatto tantissimi workshop di autorecupero insieme agli abitanti del quartiere, a Santa Marta lo stesso, quindi facendo delle anche assemblee di quartiere con le persone che vivevano nelle case. Sono stati fatti delle piccole manutenzioni che quindi hanno fatto in modo che quel lavoro comunitario, che tutto quell'aspetto sociale anche venisse valorizzato.
Okay, I'll try to so it's not just that there is professionals that they do work and reuse materials with Biennale, but it's also became a social practice in the neighborhood, especially in the neighborhood of Casette that we will see tomorrow, where the responding to the second point, I try to keep track now. Responding to the second point, social. So the social question is neighborhood maintenance. So the workshop with the materials recycled for the Biennale has been shared with the neighborhood and becoming a collective knowledge.
Yes.
The way to use it and the way. So maybe you want to write also this one. I wrote the first one. We don't want to leave the city, but also we want to take care of the neighborhood. I think it's, and maybe you're Ocho, the new eyes of Ocho.
Valentina, hi.
Okay.
And Alicia.
So welcome in.
Hi. Thank you. Building on what Eleonora just said, I was thinking that a big problem that you have to think about is the relationship with the institution, because it's true we have Biennale, but it can be Biennale. I mean, I'm mad that the things that we can do for the city are because Biennale is the pavilion of Biennale of course have money. So sometimes they involve the city or the group of citizens in something that is great, okay, but we can't base the regeneration of the living of the city in the pavilion that are coming, because it would be the paradise if all the pavilion one here decide, okay, this year we really want to do something for Venice, so we feel like we are a community in the Biennale of countries that can build something really socially. And so all the pavilion can do something that is really impactful on the city. That would be my
Yeah, but we are looking for a better limit. So this is a good practice. So why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, there's no idea of this kind of cooperation. I've made this
Let's
now
do
for
it.
1 year, and it's, I mean, the way how the pavilions cooperate is so minimal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
absolutely minimum of everything. And there's nothing more regulating than the overall Biennale structure.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not allowed to do anything here, yeah? So it says, yeah, I mean, you can do then something, but even to offer some sandwiches here is totally forbidden. Yeah, don't do that. So it's not easy, but I think only a good operator could say, "We do that now. You have to do it." And, that would be a good idea for a new curatorship.
Sono d'accordo, l'anno scorso infatti, 2 anni fa infatti qua avevano fatto un progetto meraviglioso.
Yeah.
Here there was a fantastic project 2 years ago.
Che è stato bannato dalla Biennale
That was stopped by Biennale.
perché volevano aprire una porta per dire la Biennale è di tutti. Certo, non farli uscire e andare liberi, sarebbero entrati solo nel padiglione Austria e avrebbero visto gratuitamente solo il padiglione Austria, ma carte appese al muro dai curatori dell'anno scorso in cui la Biennale diceva non è possibile fare questa cosa. Allora avevano provato a montare un'impalcatura per fare un ponte e anche lì sono stati bloccati. Quindi sì, bello, tante cose belle, ma poi quando ci si scontra sulla vera libertà
Okay, so this is important. Nick is referring to 2 years ago Pavilion, here the Austrian Pavilion, where there was the attempt to at least let people freely enter the Austrian Pavilion, not the old Biennale, the Austrian Pavilion. But this was rejected by Biennale, and so they had to hang on the wall the documents that didn't allow them to let people in. So this
senza gran spiegazioni.
Yes, but I would like, let me try also with OCIO to switch a little bit the question, because I think we don't want to, I think sometimes cities pay big think tanks, and they usually get money from corporations to make big think tanks and to have new ideas. I don't want to come up with any new idea. I'm just trying to understanding that there is already all the ideas on the table. Now you were saying it would be a miracle. But then this is the miracle. We're all, I mean, you know, when you have a policy for a city, you have to make a little bit of a miracle. So I think we would be visualizing this network that's already has been experimenting for so many years now, since 2008, that Biennale with its huge, massive, unsustainable, let's call it, no? A sustainable event can be reduced, the impact of it, by the work that has been promoted and done already in Venice by professionals, and to reshape houses that the public company is not reshaping to be inhabited in the city. I think it's already a circle that it's pretty much fantastic, no? And I think we should just visualize it, because sometimes it's not evident that we are talking about the common goods. We are not talking about radical political antagonist strategy. No, we are just saying what we think should be done.
For sure, but I think everything is really in perspective, because we try to fight a lot. We live here and we fight every day. Even to go to a supermarket, we have to fight to enter in a supermarket. Even if I want to go in Giardini Sant'Elena and stay with my friends and doing a picnic, we have to fight. Even to take a vaporator, we have to fight. So it's pretty impossible to discern from the good ideas that we can have, and we make this idea reality every day. But we can have all the ideas of the world, but if there is the bureaucracy and the politics that stop everything and privatize us from our rights, how can we discern from the two stuff, you know? We can separate it. That's why there is a lot of malcontento, and it's really hard to talk in a very positive way, because it's years and decades that we are here and we are fighting. And we try to do all the best proposed, the more positive proposed to make a network of society, but then the politics enter and crushed everything, especially the politics, they're supposed to protect us. So how can we separate it from the negative side? So this is a bit hard to do.
This is a question. I think struggle is there, and struggle produce innovation.
Yeah, just like Santi Frontali said, I guess it was Santi Frontali, lotta allegria, allegria e lotta, no? Giusto? No? Lotta allegria. It was struggle and happiness, happiness and struggle. So we have to keep going. I really understood.
I can remember the first workshop we had with the ReBiennale. We had 40 students from UAV, the main curator Aaron Besky, the main curator of Biennale, Emiliano Gandolfi, his assistant, and of course friends from Rome, Stalker. And so I've been asking Biennale, we want to get in Biennale with all the students and our first life cycle assessment study of the pavilion. Now we want to go there. And I was scared. No, it's dangerous. No, you can't know that. So they say no. Our strategy at that time was to go around the problem, no, and to find a solution. At that time, that was asking the permission to every pavilion was join our research part. So we had the permission from all the pavilion, and the Biennale they remain like puppets. So we need to understand that there will be problems ever. We need to find solutions. So coming back to what I was saying, and also the friends from Ask, is that statement, we don't want to go away. No? But do we cry? No, I don't want to go away, you have to give me the house and the social. No, we don't want to cry. We are the solution. But to be a real solution, we need some energies, some good energies, alliance, money. No? And so we need to get back and to be smart and to transform the trash in something valuable. No? So the trash from Biennale, we need to find and to research and to be aware of the positive and already active economies. No? This is the circular economy. It's not written anywhere that the pavilion should enjoy a local. So the miracle would be for every pavilion to have a local partner, no? For which to share material project. Veras need to build the roof for the solar panel. No, who is joining this project from Veras? No? So this the alliance. So we need to go around the problem. We are the solution. No, we need to make this big strategy and fight. No? Because there are no way to escape from fighting to get our rights. No?
This is important. Struggle produce novelty, evolution, and of course we have to be happy while struggling, which is hard, but it's good. But we have to be together because things can support each other, no? And yeah, I remember this time, and also when we found the key of the American Pavilion. And yes, and we have to go around. And I think more complex it is, and more elastic expertise and intelligence you get, and then the solution become more complex. More than if just Biennale says tomorrow, we make each pavilion, we give a partner in Venice, and then, but the company, it's the nephew of the mayor, no? And then that doesn't work. Then that doesn't work, so we have to struggle for that. I see, but the question is still open. I don't want to close it like that. So you have an analytic point of view. Tell us something. Also, the other triangle, I think Biennale, housing and circular economy, it's a very crucial, innovative. I mean, what we can learn out, what the world could learn out of Venice, I think one thing would be this one. The other question, very problematic, it's Venezia, Mestre, Porto Marghera, no? That came out as a critical. Can you provide us some elements to reflect on that? What would be a better relationship between these three elements? Then we see if the two gets together, right? Ho fatto una domanda troppo difficile.
No, è difficile.
È tanto culturale in realtà che ci avvolge.
Should maybe have something to add, not to this, because that's a complicated question, but also to the previous phase where we wrote we don't want to leave the city. I would add also we want to be able to come back because I don't live in Venice anymore. I had to move out. I want to come back. And coming back to Venice is even harder than trying to stay. And I'm not saying trying to stay is easy, of course. And so this is really another limit of the city, right? So it's not only struggling to keep people in Venice because of the struggles and the anger, but it's also making it difficult for people to say, okay, I have a project somewhere else, I go away and then I want to come back home. My family's here, but I cannot come back. And so I think that's another second part of the phrase that I think would be interesting to add. The right to stay and the right to leave knowing you can come back home. That is something that doesn't have to do with Porto Marghera, but that I've been thinking about.
Please, I think it's important to know we don't leave the city and we also want to come back.
Yeah.
But you know that this story is told totally different in other countries. Like in every TV documentation or whatever, we hear, okay, there are so many tourists in Venice and people don't want to live anymore here, so they move. They have jobs somewhere else, they don't want to live. So we never hear that they would like to stay. So this is a totally different story, and maybe, yeah, we need some advertisement for that or some publicity more for that.
I would like to speak about public spaces because we talked about the houses, about Mestre, Venezia, has Villa Tutti. We fight from since 2014 for create a public park on the island, on the green part of the island. So I would like to share with you two of our ideas. One is this, to create a public space, because in this city we don't have a lot of green spaces and also public spaces. A lot of the space is privatized or abandoned. So
Become
Biennale for a lot of months in the year. So we would like to create open and accessible park to everyone, to have a space that resists, and also where people can meet, can create, can reconnect to the lagoon and to the others. And the second principle that we have is the democratic self-management of the association. All major decisions are made together during the assembly, and every member has an equal say. So we don't only to manage a space, but we want also to explore new forms of organizing and living together. I think that Poveglia per Tutti is not only about an island, but it's about a project. It's about a new city, and I think that we, but not only we, all of the realities that are here can prove to the others that another Venetian is possible, and we are building it together.
Yeah, even because like through the green park, we think we are gonna create like a space for people. The people first, like they create by their own self the space, like the space non inteso semplicemente come uno spazio fisico concreto, ma le stesse persone che vengono per partecipare poi diventano loro stesse uno spazio
People all
sociale.
together, they are themselves a space.
Perfetto, me veniva, grazie. Una certa, le 4 si fanno sentire. And even because I still remember the first time I went to Poveglia, and for me it was like, oh my god, there is this magic island, let's go,
Yeah, because
let's
we
take
are
the
not
boat.
from Venice, but
Yeah.
she's from Sicily and from Friuli. So
Yeah, and when we arrived there and we saw all the people, Venetian people, students, people coming from outside or international students too, being there, working together, talking, doing project, we felt for the first time that there was something moving on, okay? Because like the student population of Venice, most of the time is really marginalized because they always do project by their own, something reconnected with universities, and it's really hard perceive ourselves like part of the community in Venice, okay, even if we live here for 5, 7, 10 years. So Poveglia per tutti try to be that spotlight in the darkness of the lagoon, because you are totally lost there. So, oh yeah, there is this museum, there is this Pavilion, there is Biennale, let's go there, but everything is so fragmented, and it's really hard feeling a connection with everything. And thanks like Poveglia per tutti and the other realities, we can feel that there is something, and the people here lives, exist, and we are not just ghosts. That's it.
That's so cruel that you have to say we are not ghosts. That sounds terrible.
Yes, I can feel that because I'm also a student in Venice, but I'm an international student, so I think maybe it's for me even harder to feel like a part of the community. But like when there are assemblies or like meetings like this, I think it kind of connects people together and it really brings people together. Also, like for international, even for students politically, it's really hard to exist. I think in Italy, like more than half of the year, I don't have an official residence permit, so I'm like stuck in Italy, but I'm not an official resident here even. Yeah.
You're still a ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just disappearing now, like Back to the Future.
holograms.
Yeah. No, but it's a funny story, but not so funny. So it goes with if the government, the municipal, that just taking care, but recognize all the people that lives here. We're not only the pandas, the less than 50,000 pandas in this city. We are more because we have the transition, the small transition, but the good transition. You know, our struggle is between the small residents of the tourists that for 70% stay 2 or 3 days in this city and then disappear. But we have also in the city. It's good because in the story, in history, since the beginning, there was a good pass of people that were coming here, and also for people who want to study here for 5 years, to live for 10 years, not for all the life like me, for example. I guess I'm the only Venetian over there, for example, no? But they are all resident of this city. Giulio come from Bari, but is right. No, for example, our history talk about this this coming of people that want to stay here also for a few time, for a small period, but have to be recognized and considered like resident and give the right rights. So we just need the rights for people, and the right for people, your house, for students also, and for new residents and for new workers that should not are constricted to stay all the life, but could be only stay here only for a period, a small period. You want that?
So this is the question of citizenship and residency, no? Residency. So because there is another big issue, no? Now we also have the referendum, And the question is who's really resident. People who's resident, there's no right of residency, and then cities, it's become an abstract, becomes a very abstract concept. Also this to bring in the question of public that was there. But I think it is crucial because it's strange, but the only cost in our discussion until now is tourism. We didn't mention tourists, which usually is the first thing everybody mentions everywhere. I'm very happy about it. Let's not talk about tourists.
It was a little bit everywhere, like covered under the blanket, but it was
The other side of the ghost.
But I was thinking if the tourists could become any kind of partner, if it would be possible to take them as a kind of a partnership. Some of them might be very interested in your wishes and your
of course,
problems.
we can connect this topic to the pillar we are ghosts. Like, if you see, this is where I met before, okay, talking about the bureaucracy, the politics side, the gestione from the government. If Venice is present and introduced like, oh, there is Biennale, oh, look, there is San Marco, Rialto, and then they look San Marco, they go to Rialto, Venice is finished. And people stay there maybe for a couple of days, 3 days, who is more rich can stay here a week. And they just go to Milano, so there is like a list of touristic spots you see it most of the time. People spend all this money, and I can understand it. I don't share the feeling, but I can understand that most of the people have a job and they decide to go to an holiday and they spend a lot of money with their family, and they take a B&B or an hotel, and of course they have a list of wonderful things to see, and they don't have the time to try to have like a real connection with the human being that is staying here. And of course, even the artisan or the restaurant, they are trying to survive. So most of the time, they don't have the time or the energy to explain, oh, look, if you want to take a good coffee, you can go there. Because it's even really hard to explain where you have to go, because Venice is a place that you need to take your time to meet the city, because you have to develop your relationship with the city, because it's so beautiful. And at the same time, it's so hard living there, so you have to love it. And after that, you can encounter and feel in something, with some connection with the people that live here. So
Okay.
that's the problem with the tourism, especially with the over-tourism.
Yeah.
I think to add is that before we can think about whether tourists could be allies, we have to define like what type of tourism is acceptable or sustainable, if we believe there is tourism can never be sustainable, which that's another issue, because if we think that tourism by definition is unsustainable, at least in the way it is now, then the answer to your question inevitably becomes no, until we solve this big problem of how we can, if we can make tourism sustainable, because otherwise you can do things where you work together with tourists, but then again, you always have this feeling of being an attraction yourself, right? And so I think that is a big dynamic you feel here. Even when you do something super cool, super local, in the moment that tourists come there, you immediately feel like you're doing it for them, and it's a performance and it's attraction. So I think until there's this level and there's not enough critical definition of what type of tourism we can accept, unfortunately, this makes us also very close to foreigners, which is bad, because I myself have been a foreigner many times of my life. I see the potential, I see the beauty of coming in connection with other people. But at the moment, I don't think we have the resources, the human resources, to really say, okay, let's connect with tourism, because we are so suffocated that I think we have to first find spaces for ourselves and to feel confident in, having those spaces before we can think about this. I think, but this is my personal opinion, of course. I don't want to generalize for all Venetians, but it's a feeling I often have.
Please.
I'm here as a tourist.
Welcome.
I was struck by, in a sense, it's a nice afternoon, but I was struck by how sterile it is until I came and actually found some people talking. about things in cities, and particularly in this city. So just a couple of reflections. Firstly, I think there is potentially a market for people like me, maybe younger than me, who like to visit cities and see the real city rather than the ersatz plastic city which has been created, the Disney city which Venice is always at risk of becoming. And then, secondly, I've always taken heart from you've all heard of the Edinburgh Festival, but there is actually an official festival, and there's a fringe festival which completely outgrew. I mean, no one really goes to the official festival. The fringe is where everything happens. The fringe is massive. It's about 5 times the size in terms of audience of the official festival. So it made me think that there should be, and you probably already do it, a Biennale fringe, where a series of events take place which are community driven. In my spare time, I'm president of an organisation called LDNet, which is the Local Development Network across Europe. And this is an organisation which tries to bring people who are involved in bottom-up activities in rural, urban, island and mountain communities, particularly focusing on how participative and radical approaches can be stimulated. So that's why in a sense, I gravitated towards your meeting, because you were the only people, you're the only people actually discussing anything in a political context. So bravo. And I don't know, but I've even worked in Venice in the past, but I've looked at the city for 30 odd years and thought, how can more be done? You know, what is it that could be done? And I just wish you luck. Courage.
Thank you so much.
Another question: have you been in Porto Marghera?
No, but I stayed last night. I stayed in Mestre, because I wanted to see the other half of the city, in a sense.
Where in Mestre?
The Corsa Popoli.
Corso del Popolo.
But not in a very cool.
Yeah, but there is a debate here to separate the municipality from Venice to Mestre. This is something that is done by the left, the possible way, because Venice is historically a left city, we are losing major from the left, because the mainland is absolutely on right side, Lega, North, and I believe that this is not good. So we cannot understand Venice if we are not going to the mainland, and we cannot say Venice without saying the mainland. So this is a topic for me is crucial. Don't try to get the easiest way to win our battle.
If I just add on that point, I'll stop talking about it. But the economy of Mestre is closely interlinked to the economy of the island of Venice, because that's where most of the labour force comes from every day to run the tourism. So it would be an extremely bad decision to separate the two. I would say it's obviously your place.
Allora, il problema è che noi ci chiediamo spesso cosa si potrebbe fare di più, quando invece noi dovremmo partire dal presupposto di cercare di fare di meno. Non dico noi, nel senso noi cittadini, dico che trovo un po' ironico il fatto che noi, seduti in un padiglione della Biennale, parliamo di come potremmo fare sì che i turisti siano parte in qualche modo della nostra lotta. C'è un fondo di ironia in questa cosa.
Okay, it's a possible question, because we always talk about, we get together and talk about what else can we do, but sometimes we should actually think what less. We're doing too much. There is a bit of an irony. There is an irony.
Il problema
There is an irony being here inside the Biennale Pavilion and having this moment, the occasion to do that.
Cioè, qual è il discorso? Che anche lui ha fatto un bellissimo esempio. Sarebbe un'idea molto stupida separare Mestre e Venezia, perché chiunque lavora a Venezia e va da Mestre va a lavorare a Venezia, me compreso, che appunto sono un lavoratore dello spettacolo, per cui cioè, questa data la facciamo costantemente. Non dico fare meno, non dico a livello politico.
You said something very wise by saying that Mestre should not be separated from Venezia, because actually that's what they own too. I mean, living in Mestre or in Marghera and then have to come here.
E questo secondo me è il fondo del problema, cioè la base di tutto il problema di questa cosa è che noi poi si finisce sempre a parlare di dinamiche di lavoro, di dinamiche speculative della città, perché per me se domani io con Biennale ci lavoro, se domani Biennale smettesse di esistere, secondo me sarebbe una grandissima vittoria per questa città, perché credo che comunque al netto di tutto Poveglia sia un esempio virtuoso, perché Biennale non è riuscita a metterci le mani sopra, cioè Biennale è una di quelle cose, ok, che prima l'abbiamo detto, una cosa detta, ok, perché c'è questo posto che è abbandonato a se stesso, prendiamolo con Biennale e facciamolo diventare un posto migliore, cosa che poi alla fine non è che prima facevano l'esempio bene.
Capaci di tradurre, se no poi
sì, scusa.
difficile. So the question is also that, I mean, he even works with Biennale, but he's saying it's clear that if Biennale wouldn't be here, everything would be better. And if we have to look at the example of Poveglia, the island that citizens took over, we can look at it as, first of all, as the one place that Biennale does not enter.
Poi un altro esempio è, per dirne una, così ce l'abbiamo in mente, poi io sono un po' provocatorio, però un altro esempio che io faccio è Forte Marghera. Che Forte Marghera è un po' la bilancia di questa cosa qui, perché tu da una parte hai uno spazio che è stato anche sistemato per tante cose dalla Biennale, però è uno spazio che è stato completamente assorbito dalle logiche di mercato della città. Perché se tu adesso vai a Forte Marghera, e io a Forte Marghera, cioè in particolare poi in questo periodo ci ho lavorato con la Biennale, è completamente assorbito in queste logiche di mercato, perché hanno tolto un sacco di spazi che prima c'erano a un sacco di associazioni per fare un sacco di spazio a Biennale, per fare un sacco di spazio a altre cose che gravitano comunque intorno a questo sistema, che è sempre un sistema di mercato monetario.
Now he's making the example of a very crucial place. You may know that it's Forte Marghera. This fortress that has been sitting there and harvesting a lot of practices, and now it's been taken over mostly by commercial practices and by Biennale itself. So that shows what it's what the process is all about.
Sì, esatto. E la base è sempre questa qui, cioè nel senso, qual è il problema di questa città? Il problema di questa città, Venezia in particolare, ma poi il problema di questa amministrazione in generale, di come tutto viene costruito all'interno di questa dinamica, è che tu parti sempre da un presupposto economico, che tu hai dei palazzi che la gente si compra e che affittano a un sacco di soldi, a un sacco di partnership e di brand. Faccio un esempio a caso che mi viene in mente, tipo Rolex, che è esattamente il brand che ha finanziato Biennale quest'anno, che si è preso un intero palazzo per farci la mostra la settimana scorsa. E cioè, nell'idea della città questo è un esempio virtuoso, perché porta un sacco di soldi nelle casse di una città, che poi però li spende per farci il bosco dello sport e radere al suolo ettari di terreno.
Okay, so now let's get complex, but an example, it's like using Biennale, one of the main sponsors of Biennale is Rolex, and Rolex took over a full building to make its exposition last week. So this shows that the only way to look at the process of regenerating the city is an economical way of looking at it, and then of course it's seen as a good practice. The fact that Rolex steps in because it brings a lot of money, and then with the money, what do?
That they spend money and invest that money that they take to actually destroy social public space and making something private to continue to make more money. So
anche perché I soldi vanno sempre nelle tasche di soliti noti.
Yeah, because the money are not like Apple, divide or giving back to the community that give you space. Actually, we live here and we try to survive here and giving you space. Okay, there are tourists. Okay, there are people coming from outside, but then the money then arrive back to us to make more spots for society. I'm sorry.
It's a very normal capitalistic process.
Yeah.
Which is here more crucial, probably.
Yes, Christina before told me that before Biennale was communal and not private. That's right. So before Biennale was for citizens because it was an exhibition for citizens, of course also for parades, for tourists, but maybe it should come back to be like communal and an institution for the public, for the citizens, and not just for tourists and people that are not from there.
Okay. Maybe I make a little geophilosophy reference, the genius of Venice, something about the genius of Venice, to step in and try to maintain the discussion open and not to get lost. But of course, the incredible intelligence of this, collective intelligence of this city, it's related with the environment. It's related with being a lot of islands, where an island has been always the chance to locate something that could have been hosted. So the displacement has been the strategy, so it's already a Western capitalistic strategy, but it was a Western capitalistic strategy of inclusions anyway. I think it's important. And all this it sits in an environment, which we didn't touch yet as an argument, but it's crucial, more than tourism, you see. I'm saying that because going back to the questions that also were brought up, I think the big monopoles on the city are not, there is not anymore the commoning sphere of these possible individualities that brings in Armenians, Jews, whoever, Turkish in a funduk, and I think this is getting somehow lost. This was also in the birth of Biennale, by providing islands to states to self-represent, and I think now it's very critical. And maybe before throwing Biennale in the lagoon, I think the question of what would be the role of Biennale, it comes back very crucial. Now before was said, who said it? I wrap up. I was very concerned of that. I had a chance hijacking Pavilion, which is a good strategy. International institutions can be very supportive. They've been supportive to all of you. So we know that. We try to do it a little bit, not much, just a little, but I think this is important. I've been supported by international because they have no local power. And I think this is an important relationship. Now, yesterday some students asked me, what should we do with institutions? They say, you have to deal with institutions that they have no power of what you're working. And then the international institutions are the best for that. So this is a chance. This is a chance. Of course, the nation state, we also ourselves develop a strategy to step out of the idea of the national pavilion. This national pavilion presents two cities. So I think it's doing an effort to go out of a certain self-representation of the nation. And then I think Biennale, we better dream, we can just a dream, maybe it's not just a dream, but maybe reshaping collectively the regulation of Biennale, redesigning it. We are missing Marco and Paolo, that actually are two of the major actors in this relationship with self-organization and Biennale, let's say, social reality and Biennale. But I think the logic should be also insisting on that. I think what we realize today is that what you're doing designs new strategies for the survival of Venice. And this is not even evident at ourselves, not to the visitors of Biennale, not to ourselves. So we're not enough conscious. We think it's just a struggle, but we should be very happy. And I would say happiness, it is struggle. Because the happiness that is not struggle, it's Disneyland fake, it's just paid. And it's really not happiness. So this is just to free the wish of keep discussing this, because I think and then Venice, Marghera, a Mestre, and a lot of other places. Lido, I would say. Lido is another kind of reality. And then there is a lot of abandoned lands. Now Poveglia can tell us about the struggle for living is something that has been left over, no? And design can I think maybe one of the, if I would put a point on our agency for better living in Venice, I would say, yes, as Giulio was saying, yes, let's imagine and let's make clear that if Biennale, instead of waste, and OCIO can tell us how much they waste every year because they're very good in calculating everything.
Well, not on everything, I mean, we can look it up.
Instead of being a waste, he could be producing houses, he could be producing, exporting all this community. I think this should emerge as a self-representation that should give a guideline to us. No? Sorry.
How could we transport this utopia wish to Biennale?
Please.
I don't know if that's actually, but maybe it's connected. I think an important word that's been missing formally, but that's actually what we all do, is the word care. So when you say happiness is struggle, I would also say care is struggle and care is happiness, right? Because we see it with what Poveglia does, taking care of an abandoned space and making it a public good. ReBiennale does, taking care of waste and transforming the resource. Taking care of community. And also we actually have a public walk, which is called cura, care in Italian. And so I think this is actually, we have never said the word yet, but I think this is actually what it's making us common. And I think so then, the people who come and design the pavilions in Biennale, they are involved with the Biennale, that's exactly what often is missing from their coming to the city, right? I think if you ask most of the people, they don't know what happens to Biennale after Biennale is closed. It's a huge public space, green, with a lot of potential, that it's either on the Biennale that you have to pay €20 to go in, or it's completely closed. Why don't we do things in the Biennale at least after the Biennale is finished? And so I think something that it's very always this tension with coming to the Biennale is, on one hand, I enjoy coming to the Biennale. And then I also get very angry seeing that everybody comes, puts their stamps, I've designed a pavilion in the Biennale, I've done some artwork in the Biennale, but I don't care what happens to the Biennale afterwards when I leave in November. And so I think for me, because this is something that really is common to all of us, this care, I think if we could see it also more in the visitors, in the people who come to Venice, that would be already not utopian solution, but at least a big step forward, I think. Thinking more about care.
Care is there, right?
Care is anyhow, for me, it's the most important word and thing for a better future. Care work, how do we distribute care work? How do we pay for care work? A good payment. How can we care for each other? How can we care for the neighborhood and for the city? But I don't think that the Biennale will be the solution for everything. No. But here in the Biennale, so it's good that we talk about it. But I think there's also a life beyond Biennale that you are dealing. No,
it's eating all the life. Let's say that. This is true.
All the other exhibitions are just during the Biennale period. If you are during the winter, there are no exhibitions. You can just go to communal museums or stuff. But everything is for the period of the Biennale. You can just go to the cinema period. If you live during the winter.
Okay, and there's one Biennale after the other.
Events, all the stuff are during the Biennale period. So it's very.
And also I live now, not anymore, in the Lido. And there they spend tons of money to renovate the old casino and make it in a super modern movie theater that can have, all the screenings of the movie festival. But it's only open 1 week a year for the International Movie Festival. And then the regular cinema of the Lido is, half closed, or they run, 2 blockbusters, one and then. And so, it's true, the Biennale cannot solve everything, but it's absorbing tons and tons of resources, economical and spaces. So I think it is a big problem that,
In fact, falls down the trees, not in the area of...
they're standing.
Of course, they care about the trees, the flowers, and on the round circle where cars that pass through the Biennale cinema are perfect. There's nothing there.
They don't fall down.
Agronomy, I don't know in English, agronomy, we study the trees are ready for that, but in the other part of the city, people falling down. So That's the embarrassment between caring not at all something that is not owned by the people but only owned by some institution.
Yeah, but it's we are like talking about the Biennale of Cinema. Yeah, Biennale maybe it's not like the big monster and it's not all Biennale responsibility, but if Biennale could try to be a bit what it was at the beginning, it would be a really concrete help for us, because like even in the basic life, okay, like one of my dearest friends, she is originally from Lido, and she has her parents' house next to the Excelsior Hotel. And I remember that one day I was going there during Biennale of Cinema just to have a lunch together, and they occupied and closed all the streets around, and I didn't know how to arrive at to reach the house of my friend. They didn't make me pass because they were, oh, this is the entrance for the Biennale, and here there is the Excelsior Hotel. I'm sorry, but I don't give a shit. I want to just go to the house of my friend. They didn't give me pass, and she had to come with the identity document showing her she lives there to make me pass. And this is insane. I mean, this is insane. I live here. We live here. What are you doing?
But I used to live there, and I had to, even if I had grocery, I had to pass there, and they would open my bags and look what grocery I bought from the supermarket, or what I had in my computer, like on the computer backpack and everything, just because I lived there. Or they have this big area which is not particularly pretty, but boys, girls, they go with the skateboards, they learn to go the bike, and it's completely off limits for 3 months.
That day I remember that I had some water marker in my bag because I was going to spend a couple of days doing my paints, my stuff, and they took my watermarks and put in the trash because this is dangerous. We don't know what you have there. But I'm not entering in Biennale. Oh, but you're passing.
Sorry, I added this link with social realities and international institutions, no? Because I think, and then in the middle of Biennale, I agree with you, the question of reshaping, rethinking. I think it's urgent for the city itself. It's dying, the city is dying because of Biennale. Today I was worried to run here from the station. I had to worry that I had to have some papers that say that since I'm not resident, I can go. I'm actually working here. It's 4 years I come to Venice. Did you pay? No. No,
basta, bisogna sabotarla questa cosa. Di non pagare.
Yeah, but why Venetian do have to pay to enter Biennale? They should have. This public gardens was established by Napoleon for public use, and these are. I think these little questions are crucial. To responding to Sabine, one historically, Venice had one big workshop that made the city work. This was the Arsenale, and now the Arsenale is Biennale. And now it either works or not works. And then good that we have entries to Arsenale that are not decentralized. And I think this is still an occasion, and I think this is, because I see also this from Rome. Now we have the academies, the foreign academies of artists, and then the role of art becomes very important. Because a lot of artists are, as remember who was Paolo and Marco was saying, a lot of artists are fake. Now they are activists, they come here, they enjoy the whole thing, and then they take a couple of pictures. And this is also true. So I think it sits Biennale as a crucial question. But we didn't face enough Marghera. We did a bit, the relation between Marghera, because I think this is important. We have Peter just told us it doesn't work to connect places like Venice and Venice cannot become two different cities. They depend.
Ma il punto è che non sono due città diverse, il punto è che sono esattamente la stessa città, solo che una è utilizzata per l'altra. Cioè, nel senso, anche Venezia, voglio dire, c'è un modo in cui l'amministrazione vede questa città e un modo in cui la vedono le persone che la abitano. E con le persone che la abitano parlo di chiunque, non solo le persone che hanno residenza, giustamente, perché nel senso credo che tutti quanti ci possiamo definire antirazzisti. Se tu prendi e vieni a vivere in Italia, a me va benissimo, tanto quanto se tu vieni a vivere a Venezia, per me sei cittadino di questa città nel momento in cui ci metti in piedi ci puoi vivere, punto, fine della storia. Il problema è che, cioè, nel senso, si occupano le case, ma occupare le case, cioè, è una cosa, è uno strumento che tu utilizzi, cioè non è il fine, cioè io non è che occupo perché voglio farmi lo spazio, occupo per necessità, e perché, cioè, una città mi ha portato a fare in modo che il mio unico strumento per poter avere uno spazio sia quello.
Anche perché non si fa mai con
Okay,
col
okay,
cuore
stop,
leggero.
translate, it becomes too long and then I get lost. So the two questions. One is that, of course, there is two visions of the city. And then it seems that inhabitants share a vision. Inhabitants share a vision, then administration has another vision. And then the question is who votes the administration, but this is, we keep it apart. Maybe.
And there are a lot of citizens that cannot vote.
Eh?
There are a lot of people who live
Because
in
citizens
that,
don't vote. The inhabitants are not allowed to vote. Okay, this is a good answer. The other question is, altra cosa che hai detto adesso invece?
They think their master and Venice are not different, but the problem is they're like one city is just in the use of the other. Okay, it's like most of the people living in Mestre are working here, and Venice is just used like instruments to make money from the rest of the people. Like the point is not separated, but it's natural that they have totally different needs, and that's the point. And when they put like the metropolitan area, Mestre, Venezia, Mestre together, the administration of course became one, and that administration just start to use more and more Venice like just a money machine, and they don't give a shit about people living there. Like, oh, you can afford it, just need to use it, because it's the same city, so who cares now? This is my city.
Then the other question, sorry, yes, this is also true, but the other question was occupying houses. It's not a privilege, it's not a beauty that we just go for the hell of it to make space, but it's a need. It's a need, and it's also a political statement. Should say, no, we're not living from here. It's the only chance not to be rejected from the city. Is it? The only chance not to be rejected? Yes. No, there is no supported way, public supported way to resist as an inhabitant, even if you're not ghost, of course if you are ghost, but then even if you're not ghost, it's the only way to.
Poi c'è un'altra base da cui partire, che è, cioè, nel senso, il sogno è che non ci sia bisogno di occupare le case. Cioè, nel senso, il sogno un giorno è, capito, prendere il capitolo del libro Ask, riuscire a chiuderlo e dire ok, a posto, ci sono le case per tutti. Cioè, nel momento in cui l'amministrazione assegna la casa, la assegna alle persone, dice io ti ristrutturo tutto, lo tiro su a nuovo e lo do effettivamente alle persone, cioè è una vittoria. Cioè quella è la cosa a cui bisognerebbe arrivare, cioè io non è che lo faccio per il mio tornaconto personale e credo che nessuno di noi lo faccia e non ci sia nessun motivo per farlo per tornaconto personale. Il problema è che tu, per arrivare al momento in cui non ti serve più utilizzare questo strumento, ti devi creare delle basi solide, cioè devi riuscire a creare un humus all'interno della città per cui, cioè, fai in modo che non ci sia bisogno, perché l'amministrazione guarda e dice cazzo, forse ci sono un po' di cittadini che hanno sto problema, magari risolviamolo al posto di dire chiediamo a loro.
Okay, so if occupying houses is a need, it's a need, then what is the desire? The desire is that we don't have anymore the need to occupy the houses. So it would be nice one day to say, okay, the whole experience of us, it's ended because there's houses for inhabitants to live here. Can I discuss? I doubt that needs and desires are two very different things.
Oh yes, of course.
To me,
simplify it.
No, but I think the desire, it's also this idea of appropriation. It's an idea of becoming part. It's becoming part of the city, remaining part of the city. So I think they also should. I mean, at least from what I can experience in the work we do in Rome, and I see that was not only need. The need sometimes becomes a struggle and doesn't produce happiness. It doesn't produce care for the neighborhood. It doesn't produce coexistence in between different cultures. to produce all that, the need requires a level of desire. And then, going back in history, this city has been built not by architects, has been built by inhabitants. And squatting a house, renovating it, through the help of reused materials from the Biennale, it is a strategy to reinvent a new way of making a city. So I just don't want to get this complex of inferiority, because I don't want to feel guilty for something that we shouldn't be guilty, but we should
No,
be
no, assolutamente.
somehow
Io vivo
proud.
in casa occupata.
No, no, okay, no. Va bene, the question is hot.
No, it's just make it dark. Yeah.
But I have a question, a stupid question. How many empty houses are in Venice? There must be so many.
I would say more or less, but they are just exactly the same how many others.
Yes.
But also they say also in the common and in the
But
island.
is there any strategy of the city
No,
what
of
to
course.
do with all of these houses?
So actually, we did an analysis like 10 days ago or something
okay.
using the ISTA data, and Venice, the historic center of Venice is the second in all of Italy for the share of empty houses. The first one is Palermo, the center of Palermo actually. And I think I wanted to look it up, it should be around 40% of the empty houses, 36%. And the thing is, there's a huge gap. So like in the mainland, it's like 6%. And then in the historic center, it's 40%, right? And so this again draws to what we were saying before. So it's the same city, but there's very different dynamic. And when you also see this number, 6% empty houses and 40% empty houses, it is reinforcing what they were saying before about one city being used the other. And empty houses, it could be actually empty houses, it could be tourist houses, right? Because the definition of empty house for the census is a house that is not inhabited by residents. Or it could be a house for, temporary residents, which they live in Venice, but they cannot, get an official contract. They cannot get permanent use of the city, right? So I think this 40%, yeah, you heard that. Yeah, it's 36%, so I was close to there. And
the
so
number is like
yeah,
huge.
So it means it's 17,000 houses.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's 25% in the Lido, so that's also good. And then, yeah, we looked also at the share, like, of these empty houses, like how many are used for tourists. And also here we see an interesting difference because in the center of Venice, it's of these empty houses, 43% are used for tourists. So basically, like half of them. And again, we see a difference with the terraferma because there it is only 2%. So I think, these big differences of, huge number of empty houses, number of houses used by tourists, and, the fact that it's different from other parts of the city really links to this, we have to deal with this difference. We don't want to be separated, of course. We want to be a big city and everything, but there are differences in how the cities are being used and occupied.
So you can guess why we have so big shoulder when someone say, "Oh, why you are occupied? Why you don't wait for graduation or announcement of income?" Yeah, we were waiting. We're waiting every time that there's an announcement of some graduation for public houses. They say, "Okay, that's 2,000." The number that they said, and they gave 40. So there's thousands of people that make a written ask for having a public house. Also people that come from the mainland, people that want to come back to Venice, and they say, okay, we are ready for, we have 40 houses ready now. And there's other 1,096. So just embarrassment between the request of citizens and what the council, the municipality can give to the people.
Very better. They make plans in 5 years. They
Okay.
40 hours.
Right. Until the next election. So they are ready, above all at September, to say we are 40 years now for rest. They make the announcement when are closing to the election. But they are very poor. They are poor in the soul because they are lying, and we know, and they know they are lying.
And the topic of public housing and the role of architecture that is actually bringing us back to this pavilion. So we have seen Vienna is an extreme case of top-down approach, where the public is thinking about everything and the people are not participating that much. And Rome is an extreme bottom-up approach, where the people is doing everything and the political side is not participating that much. So staying on the Italian case, I want to bring my own experience. Right now I'm leading a little group for answering the demand of the city of Milan, or the municipality of Milan, that is thinking how to cope the housing for the very underserved people, homeless, people kicked out of the society suddenly, and people actually that has to bring out of their own homes because they have to renovate the existing buildings. So they are familiar, and so I think the public sector must do a step towards the people. And I see the municipality of Milan comfortable with the idea of coping this temporarily. So coping this with what we call tactical housing. So the idea of doing something for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years maximum is making them comfortable because it's a political time. They can see the effects of what they are doing and not giving a gift to the other political party. So, and particularly I work on modular prefabricated housing, that's why they come to me. And that is the architecture side that can give the response to this situation, because it's a flexible way to build. It's very quick because it's a matter of weeks. So they can see the result immediately. They can cope the problem of housing for the very underserved people for a limited amount of time. They can even not invest in real estate, but they invest in a service. So for them, it's something that is working in their cost. So thinking about this tactical approach and having a period of 10 years instead of having the house forever is something. It's really something that can make them comfortable to make this step towards the people. In the case of Venice, the circularity we have seen, if at a certain point, I don't know, the curator will have this topic in mind and say, okay, the topic this year is each pavilion is doing something that will be used to build house for underserved people in Mestre, I don't know, and everything can be collected. It is something that can find the green light from the political side. So something that is that has a span of limited time and can be quickly developed and then dismantled.
I agree on the general concept. The curator, which I always wanted to be that one curator who would do that, but it's not going to be the freedom of doing. It's not going to be the freedom of doing. Biennale would not allow this one curator to do it, because Biennale is a system, and curator they just go back. And we hardly find a curator that would want to do that. Another thing would be inside Arsenale, put all the urban services needed and make them build through the Biennale process and then open it up to the city. I mean, why? Inhabitants of Venice have to pay Biennale? They could just pay it once or pay the Carta Venezia, and then they should go back and forth and make this place full of life, no? And not just a very algid experience for foreigners. No? And I agree with you on that, but I think it would not be. I think we should redesign collectively as inhabitants. If you sent me, I would participate too. The status as a common of Biennale itself. If Biennale would be a common, what the hell would be the advantage for the city? I think this is finally emerged as a crucial question, and a lot of strategies of social organization relate with that, by resisting and by operating, by resisting Biennale. So what I love this idea that Biennale Poveglia is not a Biennale Pavilion, it will never be a Biennale Pavilion. No? Oh.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I can say one thing that is a good story. And maybe the Austrian entity commissioner, they are, I think you are involved in this part, no? So we have been proposing with Venecia, which is the foundation who cares the Swiss Pavilion, just 2 years ago, an assembly, a workshop that includes commissioners of the pavilion. Now, for the first time, we've been sitting down after the pandemic, where we, our groups and Poveglia, trying to make us sitting and talk about the problems around the Biennale, sustainability points, and try to build a common toolbox how to resist in the future. And so this is not granting any change, but at least it's a little step, because one thing that we've been seeing now, the lack of result, the lack of integration of this possibility is because every artist and architect come here, have their own exhibition, and they leave. No? So there is no sharing of knowledge, of good experience, good network to meet. So this in the future could be something to develop, no? To make this alliance coming from the bottom, no? And for example, the French and the Holland commissioner 2 years ago, they were developing some workshop, because the unsustainability of the Biennale is not only a piece of wood which you glue or paint, and so you are not able to dismantle properly. No, it's not only that. No, it's all the people who are traveling, all the curators, the staff who are looking for a house. You know? So through which channel you you book your house through Airbnb. So this makes a big difference. No? Instead of you find and look for social connection. No? So some of them were talking about in the last workshop why we don't find empty spaces given from the municipality, so we can help while living there. For people who are working in Biennale, we give our power, energy to refurbish these empty spaces. So something is moving also from the bottom on this side. One of the ideas of this group was to, and this has to be, this is a goal, not immediate, to have an assignation of a green lion, so of a prize for the sustainability prize. This is not only coming from the local network, from the local activists, but also if this is coming from part of the commissioner, who start to be aware, who start to be conscious about what's happening and their big impact on the city. So let's see what happens for the future. But this is, I don't believe the Biennale could be the solution. But the Biennale, of course, is one of the problem. It's one of the problems, but it's also one of the factories in Venice. Now we don't have so many factories who are producing things, stuff, goods. Also, the Biennale as a factory brings good and benefits. So we are in the middle. No?
Really, well, to give word to Peter that asked before, maybe a brief introduction. Peter mentioned this Airport Festival, where the French part is 10 times bigger than the festival itself.
Huh.
So maybe it is also an element of reflecting, no? Our range of experience at the side of the life. I still think we should collectively redesign the normative, the regulation of Biennale. But please, Peter.
Just a couple of comments. I think your idea of in a way, a new Biennale, what could the Biennale look like if it actually served the city in a more holistic way? I think that would be really exciting, and I think a lot of it actually attracts a different type of especially the architectural Biennale. It's a bit different perhaps with the cinema or the art shows, because they have no real obligation to serve the city, but the architecture one is about quality of life, living spaces, and if it's actually detrimental to the city, that on the point, I don't want to say that you should be joined to Mestre, by the way. I think it's more that, and I completely recognise that historic islands have a particular bunch of issues and so on, and need perhaps a particular, within some wider municipal structure, a particular way of governance which is more accountable to the residents. I think there are all sorts of opportunities. The idea of the short life, years ago, we carried out a survey of empty property in a part of London where I was living, which is Hackney, sort of now very boho part, but then very rough. And we found very high levels. This is before there was nothing Airbnb. I'm renting. This is in 1980. But we actually went to the council and said, these are the empty properties. Which ones can you give us? And we will live in them. And we created housing cooperatives, and we did exactly this. 1 year, 5 year, sometimes 10 if we were lucky. But here I think that the issue is more that these are privately owned. And I came just from Ljubljana, where there was a meeting, and one of the new policies they are discussing is that Airbnb will only be allowed for 90 days a year for private properties, so that students and residents have a chance in the other 9 months of the year. And it completely changes the economics of Airbnb. And if 40% are non-resident houses, and some of those are actually empty, but some of them are being used for tourists, then clearly there is a need to have a better management of that. I'm not sure your current government will go for it because it's a national type of legislation. But I think what we're seeing in Barcelona is very interesting with the resistance, literally, a sort of guerrilla warfare about Airbnb is taking place now, with stickers being put on property. But I would really recommend, apart from using the data from the census, of actually doing street surveys, identifying properties.
Oh, we do that a lot,
Okay.
actually. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't
No, it's fine.
teach people to suck eggs, as the expression goes. Anyway, but coming back to your point, the thing about reinventing the Biennale and saying how can the Biennale serve the whole city, I think it's a really powerful idea, and clearly it's going to be here. I mean, you can't. You understand, it's a factory. It's a major economic activity every year, even though it's a Biennale. But how can it maximize its local benefits? I think is a really good question.
Infatti bisogna dividere tra la Biennale e tutti quelli che ci lavorano dentro. E in tutti quelli che ci lavorano dentro ci sono gli artisti, i curatori, cioè sono due cose diverse.
Okay, now Philip is pointing out that there's different subjects. Maybe we should, the strategy, which I agree with Giulio, which is also our Stanford strategy, to go around things. And maybe we can end our little assembly reflecting on the possibility that we don't want to lose you as a reference. And maybe with you, social reality of Venice and others, that you feel, if you feel to have someone else stepping in, maybe we can try from our side to get the curators. You mentioned the curators, and try to make a large assembly with a simple goal. Imagine the Biennale as a common, and imagine through the practices, not by, I mean, we didn't have any ideas, the practices are there and teaching us, through the practices how this circularity could be established to make Biennale itself win the Green Lion, which is not winning in a long time.
I think the curation, in the group of curators, it still exists. And I think they meet again in the Biennale days, and then in the beginning of October, we could try to organize something here.
Yes.
Anyhow, we have an assembly in these days.
Yes, we have to tell them, and we can now. If you agree, I mean, let's make also a statement as an assembly, because an assembly is not an assembly; it doesn't achieve any single statement. But if you are interested, we can try to engage all the curators in the framework of the assembly during this period of Biennale to come up with an idea, which is something that probably would not change the Biennale, but would clearly make a statement and make evidence the crucial circularity between singular artist pavilion curators and the social realities of the city. Would you like to vote that? Can we vote?
It's sort of miracle, kind of miracle.
Huh?
A kind of miracle.
No, but do we want to do it? I mean, are you going to be into it? You going to be in? Should we try? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Why not?
Dai, alziamo la mano.
Oh, l'italiano.
Fantastico. Allora vediamoci. Una cosa incredibile. That's fantastic. I'm very sorry for speaking Italian for English speakers. I'm very sorry for speaking English for the Italian speakers. Thank you so much. The possibility today. It's over.
Thank you.
Lorenzo, tomorrow there will be the excursion